Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Amelia if you're new. In today's video, I'm going to be recreating my bridal makeup. So if you follow me on Instagram, then you may know that I got married about a week ago, maybe when this video goes up, or 2 weeks ago. And I just thought I would recreate the makeup that I did for the day. It's very similar to what I would normally do for a glam look. I just used some different products and, you know, some of my tried and true bridal makeup techniques for making sure that everything stayed on. And I will say that everything lasted except for my lips, obviously, because, you know, eating, drinking, kissing, all of it. It did come off, but everything else stayed really well. I even jumped in the pool after and it was still on. So if you want to watch how I did this bridal makeup look, then please keep watching. Okay, so we are starting on clean skin. What I actually did on the day was use a sheet mask. I used the Estee Lauder A&R foil mask, which is incredibly decadent and luxurious and so hydrating, and I left it on with the eye patches for about 20 to 30 minutes, I want to say. And then when I took it off, I did 20 minutes of my LED mask so that my skin was like extra hydrated and prepped prior to going into my skincare routine. So after the mask and the LED, I did go in with an essence, which might not be necessary if you are more of an oily skin type, but because I am more normal combination, veering towards dehydrated, I tend to go for things that give my skin a lot of hydration. I did do a little bit of dermaplaning on the day, which, you know, you're not really meant to do. It was kind of last minute. Typically if I'm doing a dermaplane before an event, I would do it the day before so that my skin isn't too exposed and doesn't get sensitized, but I didn't think I needed to do it, and then last minute I was like, oh no, I should do it. So I did do like my forehead, or my hairline. I do have a lot of peach fuzz along here. My sideburns get a little bit long, so I did those. My moustache, lol. And then my chin. So then I went in with the Estee Lauder Perfectionist Pro Serum. This has vitamin C and a ferment 3. So this is antioxidants, it's brightening, hydrating, and then my moisturizer is the Jurlique Moisturizing Day Cream. Okay, I had a very long interruption because we had a repair person over. Anyway, Roche, Posay, Anthelios. I normally go for this, or like a ultraviolet queen screen, like a very serum-y kind of formula. For primer, I wore 2. The first one is the Ceramide Beauté. This is a mattifying primer from Gucci Beauty. I don't wear a lot of matte primers anymore, but I just knew that for the day, I absolutely needed to wear one through my T-zone because, you know, I wanted my foundation to be luminous, but I didn't want to be too oily. For the rest of my face, I did the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Primer. This is hydrating, gives you a glow. So then for foundation, I went with the Armani Luminous Silk, and I wore the shade 7.75. I am a week out from my tan. It's not fresh. I did it 2 days before, and I just used the Sun Escape dark foaming mousse, so it might look a little bit warm, but this is a medium coverage foundation, and it has that luminous glowy finish to it, but obviously with the primer underneath, it's gonna soften through the center. And then I did use a powder to set, not all over, but just like through the center areas. And then for concealer, I used the Luminous Silk Concealer in the shade 6. It's just a really beautiful formula. So then I used fingers to pat it in, but you can absolutely use a sponge or a brush. I just like that the heat from my hands really does just melt it in. If you are more on the oily side, then I would use a different formula. This is going to be too dewy for you. You can see that there's already that luminosity through the center of my face despite using a mattifying primer, but we will counteract that shortly. This Anastasia contour stick, I actually don't know if this still exists. It might not, but I have so many of these, and I use the shade Mink, which is the perfect like cool tone contour shade. Then going in with my Sephora blending brush. I've used this for like a decade to blend out my contour. It's my favorite brush. So you don't want it to come down too low, but if it does, then I will just correct it with a little bit of concealer. So then for my bronzer, I did go in with a little bit of the Anastasia cream bronzer in the shade Amber on my forehead. So then for my nose contour, I went in with my Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow palette, and I used the shade, this one here. I just use this one on my nose because my nose obviously is the shiniest part of my face, so I want to use a matte formula. I then went in with an eyeshadow primer and I used the Hourglass Veil. So for my eyeshadow palette, I used the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette. So I went in with a mix of these two base shades here, and I just applied them with a fluffy brush. And then I go in with the contour shade, which is the same one I used on my nose. And I'm really just defining through the crease. I kind of join it with the start of the nose contour a little bit. And then just a note on my lashes, I got them done by Anne at Eminence Beauty. If you're based in Sydney, she is amazing. She has done my lashes for almost 4 years now. You know, for photos and things like that, I really think that having the thicker, bolder lash really works. And then obviously you don't have to wear mascara on the top or other fake lashes, so it's a dream. The only issue is that if you are pretty low-key with your makeup day to day, then it does feel really extreme, which it did for me, but whatever. I was so obsessed with my makeup and my face the whole day, so it was worth it for me. I'm just going to use the same brush, and I pretty much just take this shade and then like a little bit of this one and mix them together, and then I just kind of like slowly deepen up that crease. So then I took my finger and then dipped it into these two together and then popped them on the lid. So for my brows, I first went in with Anastasia Brow Freeze. I take the gel and I scoop it out, and then I basically paste it or paint it onto the brow hairs. So it's like pushed down onto the skin. There's different techniques for using brow freeze. I've just found that this works best for me. And then here, especially because this is where my hairs kind of like point downwards. My thing with wedding makeup for most brides, including myself, is that I really just wanted to feel like me, like the most beautiful version of myself. I didn't want to do anything that was outside of my wheelhouse or anything outside of what I would typically wear for, you know, like event glam. So then to fill in my brows, I went in with the Kosas pencil, the Brow Pop in the shade Brown Black, and then I went over it with the Airbrow Tinted Brow Gel just to soften the color, and it's also in Brown Black. So my blush of choice was the Glow Play blush in the shade Grand, which you can see here. Literally just on the center of my nose. And then I went over it with a powder blush as well. So the setting powder that I used was a mini of the translucent Laura Mercier powder. And I really just concentrated it through the center of my face. Down the sides of my nose, under the eyes here. I did not take it out there, really just through the center. And when I tell you this stayed all day and all night, out in the sun, with family, in front of candles, through all the tears, it stayed. So this is incredible. And then I did go here a bit because I wanted to soften that line from the contour. Heaven, so good. My skin looks poreless. Okay, so going back to the eyes, let's add that little pop of shimmer. So going back in with the Charlotte palette, I did use a mix of this shade here, which is, but I went in with this gold shimmer here, and then a mix of this one as well. And I just popped it onto the center of my lid, and it is so pretty. It's so stunning. For the lower lash line, I went in with these two pencils from Nude Sticks. So these are the Magnetic Matte Eye Colors in the shade Terra and Aubergine, which is the darker shade. So this essentially like copies that first shade that I used. So it gives us a depth. And these are waterproof, like they set and they don't move, which was really necessary because obviously I was crying and, you know, it's a hot, like it was a hot day. So I really needed everything to stay in place. And I took my brush and then just blended out that darker shade. So just taking like this shade and then a little bit of this one and then just like really blending it through. I just popped a little bit of the MAC Prep and Prime lip primer on my lips to give it a little bit of hydration without making my lips shiny. So you can see that I don't really need a lot of eyeliner at this point because the lashes have already given me a lot of shape, and so is the eyeshadow, but I did just go in with a little bit of the Mecca Max eyeliner, and this is in the shade Chocolate, the zoom liner, and I literally just do the outer corners of my eyes. And that's it. It just gives me like a touch of lift. Now it's time for powder blush. So my blush of choice was Patrick Ta in the shade She's Passionate, and it is this beautiful peachy tone. It's stunning. It complements the cream formula perfectly. Now let's do lips. So I basically used two shades. So I first went in with the Cocoa Crayon from Eri Perez in the shade Charm. This is a really beautiful like brick red, and I used that to essentially line my lips. And then for my lip color to go over it, I used MAC Powder Kiss in the shade Mullet Over. So for my highlight, I used Nude Sticks, and I used Bubbly Bebe in Nudies Glow, which is a balm formula in a stick. Took my finger and then tapped it on. and then just popped it on top of where the balm was. So then to set my bronzer, I've gone in with the Gucci Beauty bronzer in the shade 02. That basically helps to set the cream contour bronzer that I've put on as the first layer. And then for my lower lash mascara, I used the Rare Beauty mascara. I'm pretty sure it's waterproof because I cried a bunch of times and it didn't smudge or anything like that. I do think it's absolutely necessary to wear waterproof mascara on your wedding day because you are probably going to cry even if you don't think you are. So it's just important to wear a formula that won't budge. And then my lips as well. I went over it with the Patrick Ta lip gloss in Is She Younger Than Me. This is probably one of my favorite lip glosses of all time. And it's so beautiful. And it just adds this gorgeous shine, and then it has quite a bit of glitter, which I think is so pretty, but I definitely got glitter on his face. And then the last little bit that I did was taking a bit of the matte shade from here and then popping it around my brows just to highlight them a little bit. So this is the final look. Yeah, so the lipstick did come off and I just reapplied the MAC Powder Kiss shade, so it was like more subtle, and then I actually had this in my little clutch, which is a Lano Lips coconut lip balm. So my lips were kind of bare for most of the time. I know that in the like when we were getting our photos done like out on a cliff top, I touched up with a bit of this and then kept touching up with this, so my lipstick was mostly gone in those photos, but it's okay. For the most part during the ceremony, this is what the vibe was. Okay, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me recreate my bridal makeup. I hope this helped you if you're planning on doing your own makeup or your friend's makeup or anything like that, or if you're just looking for a nice glam look to wear. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop a comment down below.